Hello, ladies, and welcome to season 2 of LOL Living Out Loud. So nothing's changed. Grab your ladies, that means your girls. Grab yourself a drink and a journal. You're going to need a pen. And come on in to LOL Living Out Loud. Hello, ladies, and welcome to LOL Living Out Loud. And thank you for joining us this evening while I talk with the ladies. Tonight, the topic is girlfriends. Do you have them? Do you want them? Can you have them? Are they worth having? All of that. We're going to talk about girlfriends. But let me do some brief housekeeping. And to let you know, please send me emails, subscribe, share the podcast with your friends. You can send me an email suggestion, show idea, topic idea. If you want to come on the show and chat with us, send me a message at livingoutloud, the number 50 plus at gmail.com. And before we get started, I want to do a shout out to Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who we lost today at the age of 87, who was an example of a real woman living out loud. 87 years old, number one in her class, and could not get a job because she was a woman. She finally gets in here, appointed to the Supreme Court by Bill Clinton, and she fights for rights for women, abortion. Just recently, she was fighting for us to have the rights to get birth control pills, our daughters, our granddaughters. And she's been fighting for Black people to have the right to vote. And today we lost her. And this is a big deal because this could change the whole climate of the court. Anyway, I just wanted to take a minute to acknowledge her and say that is an example of a woman living out loud. So, bringing it back to the ladies, I want to take a moment and welcome Marty. Say hello, Marty.
Hello.
Sammy.
I'm grandbaby free. Hey.
Okay, Sammy's grandbaby free, y'all. Okay, and Lori back to grace us with her presence again.
Hello, glad to be back.
Regina.
Hello, everyone. Glad to be here.
Okay, so tonight we're talking about girlfriends. And as I was telling you before I hit record, and so the LOL audience could hear, I went on a hunt to find information about girlfriends. And it was sad to say, young or old, white or Black, I could find very little positive on YouTube about girlfriends, even books written. I heard negative things about toxic relationships of girlfriends, why women can't be friends, and, that thing that we continue to perpetuate about women and us not liking each other and why that is. But while we're going to talk about some of that, I just wanted to start with the theme of girlfriends by asking each one of you, you can respond, take this question as you see fit. Define girlfriend to you or sisterhood to you. What is it? Who wants to go first? Don't all jump in.
I'll go first. This is Lori. I believe in having having a girlfriend. To me is a treasure, and it's not something that I've always had throughout my adult years. I think that for me, the older I've become, the less friends I have. And, I may have like one or two, relatively close girlfriends. At this point in my life, like I'm looking to have, like you said, that true BFF, that we often hear about. So it's having a girlfriend to me is very, very important. What I've learned is not everybody can be your girlfriend. I love Black women. I always felt obviously a true sisterhood with Black women, but what I have learned in some friendships that I've had is that you can't just assume, okay, well, this person she's a Black woman, she's just like me, I know she's for me and all of this, and we're definitely sister friends. Sometimes you can be left disappointed. So it's like, I just had to learn the lesson that not everybody can be my friend, but I still believe in the power of having a true girlfriend. That I've always believed in that. But I've always been that kind of person that never really had a bunch of girlfriends for some reason. But I would always have one or two close ones. So that's my experience with girlfriends. I believe in it. Definitely. I definitely believe in the power of it.
Somebody else want to hit me with their take on girlfriends? What is it? What is it about?
So it has been instrumental in my life. I did not grow up with sisters. And I wasn't in a sorority. So the idea of sisterhood and girlfriends, I am in other organizations, or I have over time, but I take sisterhood and girlfriend relationships really, really serious. And like Lori, there are ones that I've had to let go of, and not sadly let go of. Like I was like, oh, okay, no, I can't do this anymore. You know what I mean? Because it became toxic. I always talk about this story, and I just want to mention this. My best friend and I, we did not talk. We have been best friends for over 30 years. And one day we came to an impasse about something, and we didn't talk for over a year. And it was interesting because people know her. People would ask her about me, and people would ask me about her. And neither one of us said, oh, she's not my friend anymore, or whatever. But we weren't talking. I knew why she was mad at me. I knew why she was upset with me. She knew why I was upset with her. We knew that. And we were just at an impasse. And we didn't talk for that period of time. But when we came back together, it is as if nothing ever happened. Like, it was like, this is my sister for life, right? I don't, and I imagine that that's what happens when you have a sister. But I knew that we would, I never thought that we would never not be together. So I just bring that story up because it reminds me, because there's some people that have broken away from me and you don't know why. You're like, well, what did I do? What happened? And those kinds of things, I'm like, okay, I'm just going to let you go. Because if you can't tell me why we're not talking, or why were you not speaking, or why you're mad at me, then I don't really have you to do like that. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's right. Mm-hmm.
I said that.
Mark, you're up on the screen, so go ahead.
I was going to say, I think in that sense, though, if you are growing, or, your so-called girlfriend is growing in a different direction, it's easy to let them go. They might think that they're letting you go, but really you're choosing another path. I mean, I remember when so many times I've fallen off from God and picked him back up. And one particular time I told a high school girlfriend, I said, no, I said, I'm not going, I'm not going out no more, yada, yada, yada. She was like, oh, well, okay, then when you come back, I'll be here. And today she's still partying and drinking and doing all that stuff. And I'm not interested. And I'm not saying it's a good thing or a bad thing. I'm saying that I'm not interested. So this is Sam. I'll go next, I guess. I just believe that having good girlfriends in your life is priceless. You cannot talk to them for a minute and be mad and pick back up where you started, where you were before. I think that if you find a girlfriend that really, really is not that's able to tell you the truth, that is not a yes person, and love you in spite of you and vice versa, it's priceless.
Yes.
Absolutely.
It's priceless. Somebody that would have been there for you, ups and downs. They've seen your dirt, you've seen their dirt, yada, yada. They don't throw it back in your face. Priceless. They know the real you. Priceless. You don't have to put on any airs, any fronts. Priceless. They don't judge you. Priceless. And they may know you crazy, and you know you crazy too. Priceless. Priceless. Having a good girlfriend.
No, you
Now,
do.
I don't know anybody that have as many good girlfriends as Valerie, but as years have gone on, I have dropped several. So I might have 4 or 5 good ones that I've known maybe for 30 years plus. Now I probably have known Valerie for 30 years plus, but I didn't know I knew her.
Yeah, we didn't know we knew
You
each other.
don't count.
Yeah. We've known each other since about 19.
Right. But
Wow.
I have girlfriends that I've known for 30 plus years that are that have been there through the death of my parents. You know, people that will step in and be there for you and like I said, know the real you. You don't have to put on any airs. You don't have to pretend with them. They know who you are. So good girlfriends are priceless.
Marty?
I have slightly a unique perspective on girlfriends because I think it's because of my time spent in the military. I think it just gives you a different viewpoint on friendships and relationships in general. I am blessed. I can say that I have many, many wonderful, strong mentors, as well as girlfriends, sister friends, all of that in my life. And I've been blessed with that. And I know it's a blessing. We don't always agree because girlfriends don't always have to agree. And sometimes we have to agree to disagree. But the friendship is so important. What I look at it is, it's like, I chose it. They're my chosen family. You know, we can't choose our family. I grew up with a sister. So I know what growing up with a sister is like. And my sister is my A1 from day one. But there's nothing like the people that I chose that know me and have seen me evolve, have been my accountability, have checked me, you know, and these are people, we have to allow people to do that in our lives. And if you're not a person that's teachable or reachable or allow yourself to be vulnerable to your friends and things, then you don't really have real friends in your life. If you just are just trustful, you don't trust your circle, then those people are not your real friends. And so I've learned through my circle what true and real friendship is like. I know that I can call at the drop of a hat, and if any one of my friends, I know that they will give me the shirt off their back, as I will do the same for them, because it is a reciprocal relationship. And I'm the friend that I've always wanted to be. So I try to be that to my girlfriends. So my girlfriends are very important. And Valerie is one of my very, very good friends. And Sammy is also one of my good friends too. And I mean, these are women who I know will keep it real.
Yeah.
In and out of season. And those are the types of people we need in our life. So yes, we need girlfriends. We need our village. And I consider my girlfriends as my village. That's part of my village. And it is such a necessity. It's necessary, it's needed. And your girlfriends are going to be there through whatever relationships or anything else that you go through. They are usually your mainstay. So when you do, like you said, Lori and Regina and Sam, when you do find a good set of friends who have seen you through good and bad times and still love you, you definitely treasure them and you do all that you can to keep them.
So for me, you know, I didn't have children and I don't have a sister. And I often think, so God gives us many gifts. My greatest resource on the planet, because I don't have money, I don't have those things, are my family and my friendships. And I have been blessed since a little girl to have the ability to make friends. I have been burnt a number of times. The older I got, the more I weeded out friends. But my two oldest friends, Tanya, a white girl, blonde hair, blue eyes, and Alita, half Native American and half Black. They were my friends since we were 3 years old. And when I tell you we were friends from little girls, Barbies and all, they both died when I was 32. But in between, we were all 32. We were all born in February and they died. And then I picked up, as you guys know, Billy. I met Regina before I met Billy, actually. And I began to just pick up a host of friends. But I found that my sister circle, and I am very fortunate because I might have a circle easy of 15, maybe more, of strong Black women who are my friends. And I often think why I'm so blessed, because the last time we all came together to do something, not for Sister Circle, was at the last minute at my birthday. Marty, you were in New York and Chicago. My birthday was on a Saturday. At the last minute, on Thursday, I text everybody and said, hey, I know it's last minute and you guys probably can't make it, but I just want to go out to dinner for my birthday. Do you know everybody showed?
I was there.
Yes, York. You know what? That's the Michael Jackson drug I had. So, I mean, everybody showed, and my heart was touched because where I had it, it's hard to get to, it's hard to park. It was not a good day for the event, and we had a good time. And my sister group, they don't all know each other. They have me in common, and I can't even explain it. You have to see it. And I often invite other women to see it, and so they can see that I'm telling the truth. I think the commonality, though, of all my sister friends, and Lori, you're included in this conversation, or you couldn't be in this conversation. They have to be strong enough to be vulnerable and admit that they have insecurities, and so that they don't hate on other women. Or I'll just disconnect you from everybody, because I can't have you hurt everybody because you messed up. Mm-hmm. So with that being said, I have a question. I'm going to take it this way first, and I'm going to start with Regina. Regina, what is required of you from your so-called friends, and what makes you a good friend?
I'm a good listener, and I don't judge.
No, she does not.
I just don't have it in me. And I'm a good listener. So, and I'll give you an example.
Mm-hmm.
You may be in a relationship with somebody, and like I can see that it ain't gonna work. He's treating you badly, whatever. You like him, I love him. You love him, I love him. You know what I mean? I'm gonna ride or die with you. I'm gonna insert some things. You know, and I had a situation where, like, you know, my girlfriend was dating someone, and, you know, she had been dating him for a while, I think like since March. And then her birthday was in December. And then we went for that. Then he was absent, disappeared, whatever. So all the girlfriends had to gather around, and we had to go out for her birthday to uplift her. And so, you know, it was kind of a long night. We had been, you know, out there for a while. And when we got back home, I said, look, I don't want to hear nothing about that boy no more. Well, she went on to date him 3 or 4 more years after that. But I never, and she was very hurt by my statement. And I apologized to her, but then I rode with her. You know, I went through all of whatever she went through in regards to that. So I'm a good listener, so I can listen, and I don't judge. So I think that those are qualities. I think that that's why people feel as though that they can come and share with me, because I'm not going to be like, well, why did you do that? And how are you, I just don't do that because you know why? Because I have good sister girlfriends who come to me with my stuff and they also don't judge. I had that happen today, as a matter of fact. And look, I don't want to cry. Thank goodness you can't see me. But I had a sister girlfriend today that came to me that way, right? And I just texted her a few minutes ago and said, you know what? You are a true sister. She said, I ride with you. Like I always got your back. So because I give that, that's also what I get back from my.
What you give, you also want back in a relationship.
Yeah.
A friendship, a true friendship. Okay, who wants to take it? Answer the same question.
What's the question?
The question is, what do you require from your sister friend and what do you give?
Well, with my sister friends, I think I love hard just like I love in a relationship. And I think that if you need me, I'm there. Even if you don't ask me to be there, I'll be there. I usually show up, and I think I'm a giver, and I don't expect anything in return. I have learned to listen and not say anything. But one thing that I cannot stand is somebody trying to force a relationship to happen.
Mm.
I can't stand that. If you are, you're in a circle or something and you meet somebody and they try to force you to be their friend, I can't stand that. I think that friendship should happen naturally. It doesn't have to be forced. You will see the commonality. You will see the things that you have in common. And if you I think if you're a good friend, then you'll get good friendship. It's out there for you.
What are you requiring from a friend?
The
The same?
same in honesty. I don't expect people to be there like I am for them because that's who I am.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to put who you are on somebody else. And so, but honesty, call me on my stuff. I can take it. And just to be there. That's it.
Marty, Lori?
Go ahead, Lori.
Oh, thank you, Marty.
Just give her more time, right?
Oh, yeah. I think for me, it's the same as what I give is what I look for in return. So like one thing that I always give a girlfriend is I'm there. I like to be supportive. Like if I'm always looking at, okay, if you say, hey, I want to go and be an actress, I'm going to support you. If you, whatever it is you want to do, I want to support you. And I'm going to try and do everything that I can to help you. And I'm always, I want to have a girlfriend who is going to be empathetic. You know, put yourself in my shoes, just like I'm going to put myself in your shoes. I don't want to be judged. I don't judge. I also am looking for some, what I require is to have a girlfriend who, you know, like you said, Sam, it's like, give it to me straight, just like I'm going to give it to you straight. You know, I am, hey, if I'm doing something you think is totally foolish, tell me. I welcome constructive criticism. I don't have an ego about it. I don't get upset. Just simply tell it to me like it is. I'm a straight shooter, you know, and I think above all, what I require is to have a girlfriend that is going to love me unconditionally, despite what I may do or go through or whatever, because that's what I'm going to give you. I'm going to always be there for you as a girlfriend. So it's just, I think what I look for is just, and what I require is it's just basic components, you know, but it's reciprocal. Like whatever it is I'm going to dish out, that's what I look for in return. But above all, I just simply, I want to have a girlfriend that regardless of anything, she's going to be supportive, just like I'm going to support you on anything that you do. So that's really what it is for me. It's just a very basic component for me.
Marty?
I agree with most of what everyone said. I look for honesty, integrity, loyalty, and empathy. Those are the things that I look for in a friend because that's what I'm willing to give, and I do give in return. So those are the things that I think are so important in a friendship. I have to, and trust, of course, trust is in there as well. Trust is all kind of intermingled and threaded in there. Definitely trust. I have to be able to trust you, and once I'm able to trust you, I think the rest of it just flows.
Okay. For me, I don't have to have a woman that we don't have to have a lot in common, but the woman needs, same thing you guys said, they need integrity. I need to be able to trust them. They need to understand loyalty, but they don't need to be like me. I just need to be able to understand who they are. And they need to be able to understand who I am. I have tried and I fail really bad. I can't be friends with a needy woman because I don't like to talk on the phone until I want to talk on the phone. I'm sorry in advance if I don't talk to you on the phone. Marty, I talked to her the other night. She was shocked. 3 hours later.
I was like, Val, you really wanted to talk today.
In my
I'm the same way. Like, I'll admit, like, hey, just so you know, I'm a texter. You know, like, I'm the same way.
I don't want to be bothered.
Right. I'll get to you when I get to you.
But in my family, though, we can be talking. My brothers, my mom and dad, when they were alive, no. Yeah, I'm done talking. Click. And that's how we talk to each other. But a needy woman has to be in touch with you all the time. And I think all of us have said this. You don't have to talk to each other every day. You can talk to each other a few times a year and be friends. Yeah. There's some women that believe you have to talk to each other every day. And when that happens, I be wondering what their house looks like. Their house must be dirty. But that's what I get judgmental there. Don't be messing with my time. But when you need me and I need you, then we show up. But there's no reason. We're grown, y'all. We got things to do. How's Lori going to finish her book? And Regina going to run for office? And Sammy going to study for her test? And Marty start her business if we're on the phone all the time? That's a thing. It's a big thing for me. Honestly, by 55, at 55 now, almost 56, I'm not working hard on adding new friends because they might require that I talk on the phone. Mm-hmm. And I'm just being honest. But I know that I don't require a woman to be like me. I just need a woman who knows who she is and we can figure it out. But I have a question to ask you guys. This is on the light side because I was thinking about songs about friendship, movie scenes about friendship. Okay. So guys, get a song and you could do both, a movie scene, a story from a book or whatever in your mind that epitomizes a good friendship to you or a bad thing that happened in a friendship, but an example of something you've seen, television, movie, book, whatever. That was powerful to you.
Oh, for me, it was Sex and the City. That's always my go-to.
That's our show.
That's my go-to.
We got dressed up to go see Sex and the City.
Yes. And you know what? And really that they are the epitome of everything all of us just said. They were not alike. They all couldn't be more different. They
Samantha
were not
was really different.
Exactly. Samantha was definitely the free spirit, but the thing was, and there was an episode with her and Carrie where Carrie did have a moment of judgment and Samantha picked up on that. And so part of that is acceptance.
Right.
So the acceptance thing is accepting me wherewith I am and allowing me to evolve into who I am going
Describe
to
the
be.
scene though, Marty. What happened in the scene? Y'all get your story or scene in mind or song.
Okay, so the scene in the movie was, you talking about the one with Sam and Carrie?
Whichever one you want to talk to, the scene of friendship or tension in a friendship.
Well, I will say the scene about friendship was, the biggest thing was the movie. And was at the very end. Big and Carrie finally get married in the end of the first Sex and the City movie that came out in 2004 or something like that. 2008, right?
Mhm.
So Big and Carrie finally get married, and they just get married by themselves. She didn't invite any of her friends on purpose. He didn't invite any of his friends because we all remember the debacle. For those of you who saw the movie, or if you didn't, he did not make it to their first grandiose wedding that they were going to have. She had this big designer wedding plan. She was wearing the Vivian Green, whatever her name is, Vivian, whatever.
Mhm.
Somebody's name begins with a V. But anyway, she was wearing her dress and she had all these people, and he was squeamish because this was his third marriage or whatever. So as it all turned out, they broke it off, and they got back together at the very end. But at the very last scene of that movie was when he said, I know you wanted your friends here, as they were walking out of the courthouse, because they went to the justice of the peace. And as they're walking out of the courthouse as man and woman, he says, I know you wanted your friends to be here. And she was like, this is just you and I. Ever thine, ever ours, ever something. It was some kind of poet.
Ever thine, ever mine, ever ours.
Thank you. I'm horrible with that stuff. So anyway, so all of a sudden he opens up the door, and there stands her three friends, her three BFFs, Samantha, Charlotte, and Miranda. And they just screamed because they were so happy for their friend. They didn't have to be in that courtroom with their friend, but they wanted to share in some part of that happiness. And so then they all went out to eat at just a regular old restaurant. It wasn't anything grandiose. But again, to me, that was the epitome of friendship. Is like, they were there with her through the breakup with Big, and they went to Mexico on her honeymoon with her, and then they were there to help her celebrate that coming together. Nobody judged her about being with Big. They knew that's who she loved, and they really probably were ultimately hoping that she probably got back with him as well. So that's my scene.
Sam, do you have a scene, book, movie, song of a friendship or tension in a friendship? Something that reminds you of friendship from a movie, book, song.
I got a song.
What is it?
Friends. How many of us have found friends we can depend on?
That's big.
Oh my gosh. But Sam, you know, Sam, that song is gonna be in my head for like the whole
go
evening.
any further, let's be friends.
Look at Regina in the background. Y'all can't see because this is not a video, but that was funny.
Oh my gosh.
Regina, you got one?
Keep smiling.
I know, I thought about that too.
Always count on me. That's friends are for. Times
that they make you cry, don't it?
Right.
Side forevermore. The friends are for. And the thing about it is, the and it's not a battle, but the Gladys Knight and Patti LaBelle last week.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That thing was so serious. When you talk about friendships.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And then Dion popped up on there too. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
that was really deep.
That was.
And you know what the movie?
What is it?
Color Purple.
What's the scene? What's the scene? Oh.
Yeah.
So what was it about that scene? Because they were sisters.
They were
Uh-huh.
sisters.
They were blood sisters. So
But they
what was it about?
missed their childhood friendship that they had.
They did.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because I guess your first friend would be your sister. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like Regina, I didn't have a sister.
I didn't have a sister. But yeah, I mean, that scene, like, no matter how far away she went, no matter where she always wanted to be with her sister. And when they came back together, it was as if they never parted.
Yeah, and it was.
That we will never part.
Me and you will never part. Oh.
I have no idea what they said. Okay, Lori.
You know, for me, it's like I think about the obvious. I think about the show Girlfriends with Tracy Ellis Ross and I forget the other actresses' names, but
We
that's
just
when I
had
think
a
about.
reunion on Instagram last week.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I missed it. But it's like when I think about Girlfriends, I just think about that show. The ups and the downs and the breakups. I mean, even though it was comedies, and that's just what I love more than anything is comedies. But I just loved how to me it's like that's what Black girlfriends are about. Like we have our own unique experiences. I mean, people may say, "Oh, girlfriends, that's just a general thing." Black women, we have a unique bond. We have a unique type of friendship. We really, really do. And that show really shows that. And I always tuned in every week, but it's like that was the one show to me that really epitomized what being a sister girlfriend is all about.
Yeah, I agree. I have to admit, I did not watch Girlfriends nor Sex in the City until repeats.
I'm
Wow.
going to be honest, I haven't watched Sex in the City. I'm probably the only person that's never watched it.
I promise you, you'll love it. It was the first feminist, strong women friendship. They're different women, and race won't even come into it for you because it's really just a good story about friendship. Mine would be, I have two scenes. First one is, Why Did I Get Married 2? Now, Why Did I Get Married 2? I'm sorry if any actresses from Why Did I Get Married 2 happen to listen to this. I couldn't stand that movie. It just didn't make sense. All of a sudden, Janet Jackson's husband went from being a good guy to this crazy man.
She went crazy, but go ahead.
Yeah, I needed to see. That could have been part 3 because I needed to see a transition. I saw nothing. But anyway, all of this stuff happens. And Janet, her character, Patricia, who had lost, her baby and now her husband, and her husband came and it was just really bad. But her girlfriends were wondering, everything was crazy too. They didn't understand everything that was happening with their friends. Remember, all of male and female, all of them were friends because they went to college together. But there's a scene, I don't know if you guys remember it, where Janet is on the steps. She wouldn't answer their phone call. She's sitting in the steps of their house. The lights are out. Her girls just bang and bang and bang. They get into the door. I don't remember how. And they see just tears streaming. Patricia couldn't speak to them. She always was showing up for them. But they just surrounded her, put their hands on her, got close to her and spoke no words.
Laid on her lap, laid on the shoulder.
Yes, and just sat with her. It reminds me actually of a biblical story when Job was suffering and his friends came and sat silently. They didn't blow it till they started talking. But while they were sitting silently, they ministered to him. And that scene is an example of wailing women coming together to support each other, because female friendships are really old as biblical times. And they're that important. The friendships of Black girls, Black women. And the other scene for me is the Color Purple, and also with you guys. But mine is not, I think Marty and I talked about, mine is not this one, although I cried on that whole thing. Mine is as the women are standing on the porch. They've been through the men's stuff. Y'all know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
They're standing on the porch all over in different positions, set up perfectly for the shot. And before you see the cars coming, you hear the wind chimes and somebody says, anybody guys expecting somebody? That's Natty and them coming, right? But each woman has gone through their battle, has gone through their disagreements with each other. Oprah's character and Miss Celie and Sophia, they had gone through their disagreement. Squeaky, who had an affair with Miss Sophia's man, they all had gone through what they had to go through. But when it was all said and done, those 4 women had come to understand themselves and they stood on a porch together. And that to me is the epitome of friendship. We don't always get it right. We make mistakes, but when it's all said and done, we're there to stand together and celebrate with each other. So I'm going to take it from there to this part. Why is it, y'all, I couldn't find anything positive about friendship? So tell the truth. Are we just the minority of women, Black women, that have found that we can have friendship? Or are we lying?
Can I answer
Go
first?
ahead.
Actually, we were talking about this, I think, in one of our prior conversations about women and Black women, their ability to be friends. I think the narrative has been put out there that we are catty, we are petty, we are ratchet, we cannot be friends, we cannot foster good and healthy relationships, and there has not been enough put out there to dispel that narrative, because you have more Black female groups than you have anything. If you look at, well, first of all, we can start with the church, okay? Because if it wasn't for Black females, there would be none, okay? Secondly, let's talk about, all these different travel groups, Black women, you got business groups, you got Black women supporting each other with startup businesses. You've got all these kind of support groups that we are the ones that come up with these groups, and then everyone usually patterns themselves after us. So we have not gotten ahead of that negative narrative that people want to paint of us, because they got the media and different things to kind of put that narrative out there in front, especially those ratchet TV programs. We talked about that, and that's the narrative that they want to promote about us as Black women. But they are the majority of us that we are out here pulling for one another, lifting one another up. And if we only knew that, because you have so many other Black women that say, well, they listen to what they hear and not necessarily what they've experienced, or listen to what someone else tells them. And I just think that, we have to form our own relationships in order to make those kind of assertions that Black women really cannot get along. That is not true from my lens. Mm-hmm. I see more of us bonding than I do not. You always going to have some
disagree with Marty? I mean, does anybody disagree to say that in general they think that women can't be friends or don't do well as friends?
I think to your point, when it comes to obviously reality TV, and we all understand that it is, they say, oh, it's entertainment. No, it's more than entertainment. It's really showing African American women negatively. And I don't care about, oh, well, you don't take it seriously. It's just, it's scripted. That's beside the point. You're putting this message out there, and we know that white people see it and other people see it, and that's the assumption immediately. All Black women behave like that. All Black women are that negative. And that's what just breaks my heart, because it's like, that's not how we are. I mean, I don't have any friends, or I know anyone that's like a Nene. Not that there's anything wrong with her, but it's just like when they're on these shows, it's like that's the message that is put out there, and that's not how we are. When we see everyday Black women, at least for me, I don't see Black women like that at all. I see support. I see love. So that's the part that's really, really difficult. It's hard to fight when that's broadcasted on a daily. Like, this is how Black women behave. And there's so many of these shows now. I mean, you got the Basketball Wives, you got this, you got that. And I'm just like, why is it that's when it comes to Black women being portrayed in the media, that's what's greenlit. That's what studios will put out there. That's what's put out there all the time. But when it comes to talking about our everyday lives, oh my gosh, they don't want to do that. They don't want to hear about that. And that's what's very hurtful.
So doesn't it go deeper than just the shows? Because you have white ratchet shows too.
Yeah, you do.
And Karen has never been treated with disrespect till lately. I mean, I think it just goes a little bit deeper than just those shows. I think a lot of times, like the ghetto is the ghetto. And I think when people don't know better, they don't do better. We talking about people that sometimes have to be brought up like crabs in a barrel, and they have to fight for what they want. They always think that they got to take it. And if it means they got to take it from you, they will. I work in an area where there are crabs there. and they will take a knife and stab you in your back and smile at you in your face and think that's okay. So it's real, and it's all women. I work with a bunch of women. I'm a manager. All the women, they're managers. And a lot of times it's, I'm going to take it. I don't care who I hurt. And then they will stand there and talk to you about God. Like God gonna get somebody, they trying to sick God on somebody. God don't hear you.
And I guess and it's interesting you say it now, when it comes to, like you said, when it comes to white women, now there are reality shows with white women, but at least for white women, they're projected in other ways as well. They're able to show, white women show more, there's more being put out there on white women. Right.
Yeah,
for us, it's like all we're seeing under this one lens.
Right.
But white women, they have this, they have this, they have this.
Black women are the most disrespected.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, we are.
We're the most disrespected.
Mm-hmm.
We're treated like trash.
Yep.
But we're the strength of the nation.
Absolutely, we are.
Now, Regina, I see Regina chomping to get in. What you want to say?
I want to go back
Mm-hmm.
what you originally asked.
Okay.
That is it all truth and is it all rosy?
Right.
And it's not. In the Black church, Black preacher women fight against each other. In these sororities, in these organizations, sisterhood organizations, women are fighting against each other. There's mean girl spirits going on. When we talk about sisterhood, you talking about sororities being sisterhood and people are tearing each other up. You talk about other organizations. You talk about women in ministry being a sisterhood because we got to fight against the male preachers, but the women are the one that want to sit you down from ministry when you fall out of line. It's not the men that want to sit you down, it's the women that want to sit you down. I mean, that's a whole nother show.
No, it's not, because what I'm asking is, I'm talking about girlfriends, and I told you what I found, but the truth is what I asked. Is it all roses? We might be the minority, or are we not? Regina makes a good point. Sam made a great point. I find Regina and Sam's point to have great validity in this way. I'm talking to the three of you, and we're talking about our friendships with women and how strong they are, right? And for me, I have 15, 20 real women. I know that's just unheard of. You know, I know that that's different. But why are we unique? When you'll sit down with a table of just sisters you don't know, and they'll say, well, I'm only friends with men. Or I don't hang with women like that. Hell, Aretha Franklin had a song, I don't want no woman hang around me and my man. Women have their songs about this. And I know it to be true because Black women in particular, women as a whole, are forced to work in a world from a perspective of scarcity. So when you think you're working from a position of lack, you got to fight for your men, you got to fight for your job, you got to fight for your position in church. There is some truth. There's a reason why I couldn't find much positive at all about friendship on YouTube. YouTube has millions upon millions of videos. And all I could find is why friendship is important. But why friendship is toxic was the main things I was finding. So with that being said, have you, any of you, and I know we all have, experienced a relationship with a woman whom you thought was your friend and you found that they were not?
Every day.
All righty. Well, damn. Every day, huh?
I mean, since I was in middle school. People are jealous of me And it's funny, I said this today. People are jealous of me. They look at me and are jealous of me. But you don't know what I've been through. That's why I wrote my book. You don't know what my scars are. You don't know what I've been through. You just look at where I am now and you're jealous of me just because of the way I look, the way I connect. I'm a connector. I connect with people just naturally.
So Regina, do you think, okay, first I'm going to ask the ladies. You don't have to respond. Do you think that Regina, that women are really jealous of Regina, or do you think that she perceives it that way? That was a really deep question, I know. Yeah.
I think Regina's been around long enough to know people who are for her and people who are not for her. I think she discerns and she can discern that. And I think, you know, and what it exposes, you know, is the other person's insecurities. They want to be you, but they don't want to go through what you went through.
Anybody else?
You are.
Yeah, I agree with Marty. I think that she's able to discern. She knows who's for her and who's not for her.
I think that it's important, Regina, that you know that that's true. I met Regina when I was 11. 1976.
Wow.
And I can tell you, and I think, Regina, you're a year or two older than me? Because your birthday's in November, right?
My birthday's in November.
I'm 55. So
2 years.
I can tell you from when we were children that what you said, I don't know if you've just come to know this, is true. It's what girls used to say about you is true. And I would probably say that ain't gonna change.
It ain't gonna change.
It's what you do with it, now that you know it, how you can overcome it, how you can try to circumvent it, because you can't get small. But what can you do to make another person feel more secure? Y'all know the answer to that, right?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Not a thing.
May the Lord watch between me and thee. That's all you can do with that.
Valerie, is that I remember being in school and like there was like what we called the smoking section where people would go outside and smoke cigarettes and probably whatever else. And there was a name for them. And I remember this distinctly. I dumbed down myself to fit in so they would like me, right? And I'm sure many of us, and we, you know, we may not want to call it dumbed down, but we have diminished who we are and our accomplishments or whatever so that people will like us, right? In our lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
57 years old. I don't really have you to do about that. I'm not doing that anymore. You know what I mean? And I did that for a long, it's called people pleasing.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And 50 plus, we're trying to do something different, right? That's part of LOL.
Yeah.
But what she's talking about, I think if each one of us have probably found ourselves doing that at some point so that the girls would like us more. I don't know what it was that you did. I don't know. Marty, did you ever do it?
I think I did it when I was really, really young and I wanted to be accepted. But once I got to probably, it had to be like junior high school. We called it junior high school, 7th and 8th grade, 7th, 8th, 9th grade.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had senior high school, 10th,
We
11th,
did too.
and 12th.
I'm that old.
Yeah. So maybe in junior high school, maybe when I got around 8th or 9th, but after that, it was like, it's whatever. I'm gonna be me. And you either like me or you don't. And those people who did not like me, I just gravitated to those who did. I started, you know, and I guess it goes along with that thing, you know, you should go where you're celebrated and not tolerated. Well, I learned at a very young age because my parents really beat that into me. They were like, you don't have to be around somebody. You don't need to beg anybody for nothing. You're good with who you are. You stand up and you dare to be different. And they have always challenged me in that way. So, you know, I adapt that. Yes. Was I by myself sometimes? Absolutely. But I learned that I didn't need anyone else's approval at a very young age. And probably that may have made people really not like me because
Yeah,
I
that
really
would make
didn't
you
care.
less likable. Yeah. How about you, Lori?
But the people, well, let me just say this.
Okay,
but
go
the
ahead. I'm
people
sorry.
once people actually got to know me, they realized that I was just down to earth, but I wasn't about nonsense. Not like that, you know. And when people would start talking about other people, you know, like I don't like this person and I don't like that person, you know, there was a time when I would join in with it, but then I got to the place, no, if you don't like her, then just don't say nothing about it. Leave her alone. Then go on about your business. Why are you talking about it? Why are you giving her that space in your brain? You know, so, you know, you learn, but yes, we've all gone through that. I think all of us have gone through those growing pains
Lori?
where we want to fit in.
Yeah. I think, you know, it's so funny because like 5 years ago, I became friends with this young woman, and I thought she and I had so many things in common. Oh my gosh. And, you know, we were great. We were the best friends for like about 2 years. And then we had a disagreement. And, you know, we just stopped talking. We just fell out. I reached out to her, and she was rather chilly in her responses to me. I did it twice. And then finally I just said, Laura, you got to let that go. But I had to like think about the friendship. And I said to myself, there were times when I felt like, to your point, Marty, where I felt like I was dumbing myself down. Like there were things that she would always talk about people a lot. And I would always kind of go, well, why would you talk about that person? And so she would always go, oh, you're just always trying to be real nice. She would always say things like that to me. And it's like during the friendship, I never really realized that until afterwards when I would just think about, she would say little things or she was negative. And I just always felt like I always had to just make myself acceptable to her, you know, so that I can be her friend. And I couldn't believe that for 2 years I did that. And because in my mind, I always felt, hey, this is a Black woman who needs a friend. I should be there, you know? So I really kind of adapted myself to kind of fit into her box. And it wasn't until after our friendship was done, it was like this epiphany. I was like, I had no idea I was losing myself as a result of that friendship. And I'm glad that it's over with now. But during that time, I never really realized that I was doing that. So to your point, Marty, is that you're right. There are times when we dumb ourselves down. Some of us learn that lesson early. I learned it, unfortunately, in my 40s. But you know, it's like that friendship let me see that I can't be friends with everybody. That's what the lesson was for me. Some friendships are for you, and some simply are not. And sometimes you have to be willing to be by yourself, which I found such contentment in that. So it's like, hey, if I have a close girlfriend, great. If I don't, that's okay, because I enjoy being my best friend to myself. So,
Sam, have you ever?
Well, believe it or not, when I was younger, I was shy. But
no.
I need proof, Sam. I need proof.
Oh,
Who can I call?
you had, Sam.
no, so I grew up in a hostile environment, and not in my home, but in a hostile neighborhood. So I
We
always
did, y'all.
I always I'm telling you, I remember even as a young child though, I went to Kettering Elementary, and it was this young white guy. His name was I think his name was Kevin Blanks. He was handicapped and people would make fun of him. And I threatened the people. So I've always been, you know, trying to fight for the underdog. So so no, I don't recall doing that unless it was
I'm sorry.
because either I was not being bothered or I was leading my own pack and doing something.
Hmm.
Because
Mine would be.
I had to
Well,
fight.
yeah, you had. I mean, and she. No, all jokes aside, the neighborhood she came up in was at the time known as the projects in one of the areas. It was rough, and they came to my elementary school.
Mhm.
Thank God, because I wouldn't have saw any Black people in this at church. I would have thought the only place Black people existed was a family reunion in church. But mine was, and it's kind of hurtful. And Regina, it's what got us to Columbia, Maryland, my family. So I think Marty and I have this in common. I grew up in a white neighborhood, but when I say grew up in the white neighborhood, we were the first black family there. They burned a cross in our yard. And so I said that my first friend was white, blonde hair, blue eyes, different and unique because her parents are still alive. They're from Europe. Her mother's from Canada, her father's from Europe. So they're also very different than white Americans, right? And when I say friends of my father, my mother, just friends of the family. And then my other girlfriend. But when busing started when 1974, and I was 9. And Sammy, you probably remember when busing started. We grew up in the same county. I was so excited. Once again, Black people are coming. I'm going to be able to have double Dutch outside of First Baptist of Howard Park. I mean, Black people are coming. We can listen to some music and we can dance. And they hated me. I didn't do anything right for the Black girls. I had long hair, 2 ponytails, bangs. And I remember we had a show and tell in the 4th grade, and this I knew was going to make the Black girls from Sam's neighborhood like me. It didn't work. And they were from your neighborhood, Sam.
I believe it.
And I had, y'all remember Chrissy Doll, the skinny one? Her hair came out of her head. You can So I had a Chrissy Doll, and I bought her for show and tell. Now, I had a stay-at-home mom, which already was a strike against me when busing started, because my mom came to the school. She ran the Girl Scouts and the Brownies, and she also sewed. So I wore an outfit, and Chrissy wore the matching outfit. That's how bad that woman was. We had a jumpsuit Chrissy Love outfit on and a Cleopatra Jones coat. Chrissy, too. And I'm like, the Black girls are going to see this, and they're going to be my friends. And I bought all of that stuff in for show and tell. We were dressed the same. I had to fight. This girl that should have been, this is the 4th grade. This girl was in the 4th grade. She should have been in the 6th grade, and she was fat. I'm sorry. And I had to fight her. And I didn't understand why I had to fight her. She hit me and she pushed me, and I was not afraid of her. Because, you know, okay, and let me back up and say, I did talk like Marsha Brady.
Marsha.
Hi, you guys. Hello, you guys. Hi. I mean, but I didn't understand what that meant to Black people. I didn't understand what it meant to talk like you talk like a white girl. I didn't know what that meant.
Right.
You talk like, you're an Oreo cookie. I didn't even like Oreo cookies. I just tried one for the first one last week.
Didn't like
I don't like them. I tried it last week. That thing's nasty. And I didn't even know what it was. And so they would have parties, the Black girls who I was so excited that they came, they would have sleepovers, and I never got invited. Never. And then when busing started, when Sammy's crew came, my white friends that I grew up with, half of them weren't allowed to play with me anymore because now I was Black. I was the only Black girl, so I was acceptable. But when Black people came, the Black people that came were going to turn me into something new. I fit nowhere. Just like the play that the brother wrote from Howard, No Place to Be Somebody. That's why we moved to Columbia, Regina. Columbia is a very unique area in the United States of America.
Yep.
It is diverse. It has interracial couples. It had them back then in the early 70s.
Yep.
It's also upper middle class to wealthy. And that's where we moved because my brothers and I, we just couldn't fit anywhere. And if we came in the house trying to talk like the kids that got off the bus, my mother wasn't having that.
Like what?
What did you say? Like, what was that? I literally fought a boy because he said, I don't know if you guys have heard these things before, can I have a chance? I was 9 years old. A chance for what? A chance. Do y'all know what that means? Sam does. She's laughing.
I don't know what.
No, I don't.
You don't know. You would have had to fight too, Marty.
What
I
was
know
it?
what can I have a chance, man?
He said, can I have a chance? She doesn't know either.
No.
I didn't grow up in this area.
I didn't either, Marty. And
What
she
was
was like, can you be my boyfriend? Can I be your boyfriend?
Her boyfriend.
Yeah, well, I wasn't allowed to have no boyfriend. I didn't even know what that was. I had Barbie and G.I. Joe. I did not have a boyfriend. And so when Mark Gardner, I put him out there, Mark, he's a doctor now. He grew up. But he thought I was making fun of him, and I wasn't. I said, a chance for what? The same thing you would have said, Marty, Lori, Regina. A chance for what? And he took his belt off, and he hit me with it.
What?
Marty's belt.
Oh.
A belt?
A belt. He hit me with his belt. Mm-hmm. And it was just, that's what, let me just say this. I never, ever, this was the hurtful part, you know, I never could make Black girlfriends while I was in a white neighborhood because Black girls didn't like me. But I never had to fight a white girl. Never. They never called me a bad name. They never mistreated me. But when Black girls came, couldn't stand it. That's hurtful. I never had to fight a white girl.
Crabs in a barrel.
But my experience was completely different.
Yeah,
mine was
and
just
you
the
grew up
opposite.
in a white neighborhood too, right?
Mine was completely different.
I moved and met Regina. It was a whole nother world. So,
No. What I'm saying is I had to fight them white girls and white boys. That's what I'm saying.
yeah, I didn't.
Because they were calling us names.
And
so
can
we
tell
had to fight them.
where we grew up, when her group of people came in the busing environment, they tended to be hostile to the few Black kids that were sprinkled in there.
They were hostile to, because we were bused to, at first we were supposed to go to Crossland High School. I lived in Sea Pleasant. And we were supposed to go to Crossland High School, and they ended up busing us to Duval. And as far as my neighborhood was concerned, it was the Duval takeover. We was gonna take over Duval, Black, white, anything in between. And that's what they did.
Yeah,
they fought anybody and everybody. And then they had the nerve to play, I think Roots came out back then too, or some of those Black shows where, you know, white people call Blacks the N-word. The school had to be on lockdown.
Yeah, her school had, Duval had race wars. By then I had moved
all the time.
But so did our school. My school had, because we were bused in, we were integrated. Can you believe it? In the 80s.
In the 80s.
We had desegregated this one school. And they bused all of us, all these Black people. It was, the school went from being 5% Black to 40% Black.
Mm.
And one night we had to actually spend the night in school. So I don't want to get too far off, but what I'm saying is,
and I would ask you, did you have a hard time developing girlfriends amongst this racial tension?
I had a problem developing girlfriends that were not Black.
Yeah.
Because we as Black people, we banded together. Yeah. Because it was us against them.
Yeah.
So
what do you do when you're Black and Black people that look like you don't like you because you don't talk like them? You're not from their neighborhood.
And what I'm saying is, I didn't get along with all the Black girls because a lot of Black girls didn't like the way that I talked or that I was in the honors classes I was able to code switch. I was able to go from the hood to the head of the class, you know, so there were a lot of people who didn't like the fact that I could move in all of those things. So there were some people who didn't like me. Again, I didn't give them any energy. So
switching.
So I hung with the ones that accepted me. That crowd that accepted me, those were the ones that I hung with. But however, when it came to us against them, and they were throwing bricks and had their guns, and they had the school surrounded, and we had to be locked in all night. Our parents were called and everything else. We all banded together because we knew we needed each other to be able to make it through.
Lori, did you go to school in Illinois? Are you from the Illinois? You moved to the Illinois area.
I grew up in Illinois in the south suburbs. And so I think the only time I've ever experienced like any kind of racism like that, I mean, I think when my parents had a house built in this new subdivision, all white. We were the first Black family. And I'll never, ever forget this. I was sitting out on our front porch, just sitting there, and this car came up in front of the house. It was these two white guys. and they were changing drivers. And they looked over at me and said, hey, and said N-word. And I was 9 years old. And I came in and I told my mom. And she was so angry because my mom felt like, hey, I'm a professional. Our family had this house, and how dare you? How dare you? My mother just refused to. Her thing was just like, look, I work just as hard as anybody else, Black woman or not. I work hard for what I have. That's the only time I've ever experienced racism so directly in my face as a child. That was the first time. And the school that I went to, in my classroom, it was like two Black kids in there besides myself. So it was like three of us in there. And I'm going to be honest, with the Black girls that were there, we didn't really bond for some reason. I don't understand why we did. I think we were kind of like all in survival mode. So it was like, if we got too close, then maybe the white folks might have seen that we were trying to rebel or something, whatever. So it's like, we didn't get close for some reason, but I think we all kind of felt like, hey, I'm trying to survive on my own. So it was like an individual survival thing. At least that's what I thought in my mind, like, oh my gosh, if the white kids see us all talking together, they may jump us or whatever. So it's really a weird time. But yeah, that's the only time I can really think about that really stands out to me, that I experienced racism in a way, but I wasn't able to bond with other Black people because we were doing our own individual survival modes.
So if you guys are hearing this, we develop friendships, girl friendships, real sisterhoods. And we might not be the majority of sisterhoods, but we develop these things in the midst of racism, in the midst of poverty, in the midst of trying to negotiate being Black in the United States of America. It's just not easy for us to develop bonds and trust each other. I think that developing a sisterhood, a Black sisterhood, a real sisterhood, is probably one of the greatest gifts that we can give each other. I'm sure that we have to do some work even on ourselves, because sometimes we have to check ourselves so we can be friends. So, because I want to make sure that, I move to making sure that everybody's clear. At 50 plus on LOL, you can become and develop real friendships. Lori, for you, I want for you that you have at least a living room, even if it's 3 or 4 sisters at all times. You know what I mean? Not one for 5 years, but with longevity. So right. Regina and I are in our 50s. We've known each other since we were children. My 2 oldest friends, of course, have gone on to be with the Lord now. But I want you to be able to say, I've had a girlfriend 20 and 30 and 40 years. Right. Yeah. And because when we hear that Lori really doesn't have that, y'all, that should make us be all the more grateful that we do.
Right. Absolutely. I can't imagine that. I mean, it's just like when I hear about you guys talk about how long you've been friends, I'm just like, wow, really? Like
I met Marty through my ex-husband of all. I met Marty. She was his friend, not mine.
Wow.
Yeah, I got her in the divorce.
Hilarious. Oh wow.
I mean, so for the sisters listening that couldn't relate to this friendship stuff, just because you don't have it doesn't mean you can't acquire it. You have to do some work on your end, and they have to do some work on theirs.
But also, I'm sorry, Valerie.
Go ahead.
I met you in church, right?
Yeah.
And I had a bad reputation in church.
Yeah, I didn't
see.
Right,
Valerie?
She has a bad reputation now. She said it like it's over. Sam was one of them Albertina Walker church women. Albertina Walker carry a knife and cut you. She'll pray and cut you. Sam is that. She's known for that in church. That was never my experience with Sam.
Right. That's what I was getting ready to say. She had to defend me. Half the time I didn't even know.
I was like, what's wrong with Sam? She's mean.
But she still made the choice to be my friend.
Can I say this though, you all, and this is the key value, kind of alluded to it earlier, especially as Black women and as Black people traversing this society that we have to traverse, with all the things that we have to deal with, all the barriers and all the things that we have to contend with, it's hard for Black people to be vulnerable.
Yes.
Because we always are on guard to a degree.
See where the therapist brought us? She brought us right there.
Right
You
back
cannot
around.
have a real friendship if you are not
Right.
willing to be vulnerable.
Absolutely.
And that means you got to get hurt sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So with the vulnerability comes the last vulnerability question. I'm going to give you each a moment to think about it. I'm going to ask you if you don't mind sharing one of the moments that you've experienced with one of your friend girls. In Mississippi, they call it girlfriend, sounds gay to them. That's when I was in Mississippi for college, so which is crazy. So they like to say their friend girl. But a experience that you had with one of your sister girls, it can be one or two, your pick if you can't decide which one is most important, that helped you move to the next place. And it could be a time when you felt like you were drowning, a time where you wanted to give up, a time where you were just tired, but it was another woman, Black woman, who came alongside you and helped you run you know that three-legged race, sometimes you got to run together. If you don't have that experience, say so. But if you do have one or two, you can't pick, share it, please.
I can go first on that.
Go, Sammy.
It was a time where I was going through my divorce, and even though I was in church or whatever, I didn't really share it. So, and I was trying to finish school. I was trying to get my degree in accounting, and I had buried my parents. There was just a lot going on. I raising my two sons by myself, and I had bad credit. It was just, everything was just crashing in on me. And I remember going to church, and I have a close girlfriend there. And she looked at me and she said, "What's wrong with you?" I was like, "Nothing. I'm good. I'm here." She said, "Well, come on here." It was after service. She said, "Come on here so we can pray." I looked dead in her eyes and I said, "You can pray."
Okay.
But I'm not. I couldn't do another thing. My soul was tired. She pulled me in anyway, hugged and loved on me, and we prayed. And I was able to cry out to God. And I would go to school. I went to school one night and I just showed up and we had a test. And I pulled the teacher aside and said, "Look, I came today just because, but I said, I'm not in a good place. And it wasn't that, I wanted to kill myself or nothing like that, but I had no energy. I couldn't even fight for myself. And she fought for me that day. I needed that. I needed somebody to stand in the gap for me, to say the words that I couldn't say, to petition God for me, because I couldn't do it for myself. And I was blessed for it.
Right.
Well, Marty, the camera's on you, so you might as well go ahead.
Boy, I'm just trying to pinpoint something. Well, I know that my sister friends helped me through this last master's that I achieved. I got back in 2013, which was the hardest thing I've ever done in my whole entire life. School always came easy to me. But this last time, it was that 40-something, almost 50-something brain that was in full effect, and I was not catching on to things. I was so pessimistic. I didn't really think I was going to do it, but my friends, my two best friends that are at home in New York, Val encouraged me, not just encouraged me, but critiqued my papers, listened to me as I ranted and raved and foamed at the mouth and was mad and fussy that I did. I was like, what the heck did I do? You know, but you all listened and you stuck with me. You prayed for me. And like I said, I didn't have anything left after I finished school. I was bankrupt. I mean, like for real, for real. So you all prayed me through that because that's the only way I made it through school. So I will say if it wasn't for my friends, and I include my family in that as well, because my family was praying for me, even though they were getting on my nerves and you know, and sometimes they didn't act like, you know, because sometimes our family don't act like they don't understand. Sometimes they're there for us, but sometimes we get more understanding from our friends.
Mm-hmm.
And so my friends really stepped in there and really undergirded me, just similar to what Sam said. When I couldn't do it for myself, I was so over the top. So I'm grateful for that, and I'm grateful for friends.
Yeah. Regina, get ready. I'm going to Lori. Regina, get ready. I'm going to Lori. Lori, do you have an experience?
You know, I don't have an experience that I can recall. It's just when I've had some really down, dark moments,
Yeah.
the person that was always there for me and was my closest ally, my closest friend was my mother. I was very close to my mother. She passed away 2 years ago, but she was my hero. She was my best friend. And so whenever I went through dark moments, she was there. I mean, I had girlfriends, but as I mentioned to you guys, I didn't have like true BFFs. But my mother was that for me. She was everything for me. And, you know, and I think, Valerie, we mentioned this on another podcast where you said something along the lines of, you know, your mother has to pass away in order for you to be the person that you are.
You cannot bury your mother without burying.
That was it. Oh my gosh, that was beautiful. And that's and it's like I'm becoming that person where I am more receptive to looking for, you know, that deeper connection with having, you know,
and it's only been 2 years, so
yes, exactly. And it's only been 2 years,
right?
So that's what it's been for me. So I haven't really had that experience with a BFF yet, with a friend, but I definitely had my mother, who was my best friend, who was always there for me when I needed her and when I was in those dark moments.
Regina, a girl, a woman, a sisterhood that just came alongside you when your dark time, where you can credit this woman, whether it's one or two examples, for moving you to the next step, for running a three-legged race with you.
It's probably always my mother.
Yep. See, Lori?
Yes.
You know, and my mother is still living. She's 82. And that's why I had to tone out for a minute, because she assists with my children, and my 16-year-old daughter went out, and my mother was like, she ain't home yet. And so she called me, and I got on the daggone horn like Banty. But because my mom, very much like me, she's non-judgmental, but she will tell me like it is. She will say, Regina, you gotta stop doing this. You need to stop doing that. Regina, you need to pull in here, whatever. But, and I'm grateful that she is still here. You know, she's ailing. She forgets sometimes, and that gets hard, because I'm like, Mom, I told you that. You know, and I don't mean it like that.
At 82, your computer might start, you know, getting slow too. 82 now.
Right. So I would definitely say my mom, because through thick and thin, I will tell you, Valerie knows this, when I wrote my book, I went through the whole thing. It was ready to go. It was printed. It was published. And I said, oh, Mom, here's a copy of my book. So after she read it, she was like, just the intro, she said, is there something you can change? Are there some things you can change? Has it, she thought I had a publisher that I paid. She said, how much money did you pay? Because I think she was ready to pay the money, whatever it was to do to change what I had written. I said, Mom, I can't change it because it's my story. I said, it's not your story. It's not a reflection of you. It's nothing. It's my story. And, she tried to get my father involved. She tried to get my brother involved. But at the end of the day, she eventually just let it go. And I continued selling books. And, but I am glad, I am grateful that I wrote it while she was still living and while she could still read it, right? Because it's one thing to write it when your mom is gone, right? And the things that you say and, all of that. Because I've always lived in my mother's shadow. I've always, it's always about pleasing my mom. Now that's the one where I usually don't bat an eye because I'm always about trying to please my mom. And so when she was like, oh, you need to change some things. I literally had a conversation with Valerie. And that's the only reason that I didn't. Because I was almost like, well, maybe I should so it'll be palatable for her. But I couldn't because it was part of my healing.
That's it. That's what I said. It's your story to tell to heal yourself.
Right.
You guys know we're responsible for our own healing. Yeah. Even if our mothers, fathers don't understand, at some point we still have to stand on our own. Did everybody answer that question? Something special? I think Lori and Regina, it's their mothers. Sam, you came up with a friend. Marty, it was you had some friends. So I have, and I was trying to delineate between two, but one is my last marriage. Yes, listeners, I've said it before, I've been married twice. So in my second marriage, and I was a member of a church and I was on the ministerial staff and I finished my master's of divinity and, I was doing the thing at church and everybody took his side, the church, the pastor, with the exception of Sammy and 3 other women. Now there's thousands of people at the church. So I had 4 women that could stand up to the pastor and speak on my behalf, speak to the choir members or whatever, but it was very depressing. You expect, your husband lets you down, but when you're in a place where the church, your church, where you were baptized, 1974, I was baptized. In 2008, they didn't know me anymore. That was extremely painful. And there were 4 women, and Sammy was one of them, that had the courage to not support me in the dark, but walk with me through that and help me through people literally not speaking to me anymore because they believed whatever lies, he had to say. So I won't even get into this show about friendship. That was very important to me because I got extremely depressed. I think I was more depressed because of the church. I was so disillusioned by what the church should have been and what the church turned out not to be at all. I would have done better in a club than I did at the church.
Yeah.
And the other one, and Regina understands what I said, the other one was when my mom, my mom was dying, and a few of us on this have lost our mother. And my mom was in this room that I'm in now. She wanted to die at home, and she was in the family room, which we had turned into the bedroom in her hospital bed. She had congestive heart failure, and she had come home from the hospital because she wanted to die. And it took 5 days. By the 3rd day, she would no longer open her eyes or speak or anything. And people came and went. Over 100 people came to see my mother in those few days. And I was always close by. The last time I heard my name, I heard her say Valerie, and I whispered in her ear and said, I'm not going to leave you. You were here with me coming in, and I promised to be with you going out. So even my brothers could not handle it. They were like, I can't see her like this. And it's not like you have a choice, right? So my brothers are like, I can't do it. And I'm like, oh, okay, I don't get to say that. So I'm sitting with my mother one night, and she's breathing like one time every 90 seconds. So at some point, you hear the, and you're ready to call it because 45 seconds have gone by, 60 seconds have gone by, and she breathes again. I get a phone call from one of my BFFs and Billy, and she lived in Lynchburg, and she said, Valerie, how's Aunt Barbara? And I said, it's almost time. And the hospice nurse said, I think she's going to hang on for a little bit longer. And she goes, okay, I just delivered a baby. I'm getting in the car. I'm coming in my gear. I'm not even going home. So she gets here. Y'all know it took her about 4 or 5 hours to get here. She gets here. I think my mother had about 3 more hours. She comes in, kisses my mother. I had not eaten, y'all, and drank because I was scared to have to go to the bathroom. I was scared to have to pee because if y'all were with your parent, I know Marty and your mom, your father, you don't want to miss anything, and you certainly don't want to miss goodbye. Okay. And I remember, so it's like you're having an outer body experience while it's happening. Mm-hmm. And I remember in my subconscious, Billy with some yogurt and a spoon feeding me. I don't even know how it was happening, but it wasn't happening. And she was feeding me, and I was counting the breaths with her, and she was counting them with me. And finally, when she was breathing like one every 120 seconds, the hospice nurse, who was also a pastor, said, who is keeping your mother here? And I remember saying, I don't know. And Billy said, Valerie, I think you have something to say that she might need to hear. And I whispered in her ear, because she wasn't talking anymore. And I said, Mommy, you've been a great mother. You've done all that you can. Go. You can go. You see grandmama, you see granddaddy. I named the roll call of people I knew she was going to be glad to see. And she took a few more breaths, I think maybe about 5 more minutes. And Billy was watching at the same time, and she died. She took her last breath and she died. We waited to call it. But what was so special about that moment, about my girlfriend that drove all night, that had not, had been up for 24 hours delivering babies, was it's not comfortable to watch anybody take their last breath. To sit with somebody to go through it. And my brother came at the last hour, and it was hilarious because he called and said he didn't know how to say it. So my brother says, is she still there? I'm like, she's still here. Okay, I'm on my way. I can't do this another night. Yeah, I'm up all night, but he can't do it another night. Yeah, my brother came over in a suit. A suit. So she couldn't see him. Her eyes were closed. So he comes in. He's sitting at the foot of the bed. So he's there with me and Billy. And she takes her last breath. And when she does that, and I call it 10:17 a.m., and it was raining. And my brother and I, my mother's mouth is open, go through that part. My brother and I go to the front porch, and the sun comes up. Here's the part that I thought that was most precious about the friendship at that time. Yes, Billy's a medical professional. When we come back in the room, she had my mother wiped off, sitting up nicely, mouth closed. She had unhinged her jaws, closed and gauze so her mouth wouldn't come back open. And she literally looked like she was just chilling. We were out there crying, and she was boo-hooing too, but she closed the door so that when we didn't come back in, when we came back in, we wouldn't see the body look like someone who just died. In other words, it looked like she was just resting peacefully. And I thanked her for that. And I know that that's a big ask for a friend, because one day she'll have to sit with her. Her mom is 82 as well, Regina. One day she'll have to do it herself. So for somebody to do that for you, and grateful. And we have been friends since we were 12. Yeah, so we're in our 50s. So friendships are invaluable because you're going to need them girls, honey. They outlast men. Men are coming. I'm telling you, I didn't been married twice. Men have come and gone. My girls have helped me pack. My girls have helped me recover, find jobs, encourage me. Every female on this phone, Lori, you encouraged me when you just sent me that little email that gave me an idea. Somebody was listening and somebody was interested. Thank you. Sammy, you know, Sammy. Marty, you know. Because when I was, Marty will tell you, when I was in my last marriage, I was talking about now, we're going back to what, because he a woman, but I'm talking about maybe we can go back and work, and then maybe I can just work it out. She said, work, what will you be going back to? She didn't laugh. She was just like, what will you be going back to? You know? And so, you know, if you don't have these women in your life, I'm going to ask Regina to respond to this. Regina, how would you propose sisters out here that don't have a close relationship with a woman? How would you propose they go about forging one? In your 50s, if you don't have it.
If you don't have it, you're going to have to open up. You're going to have to just open up your discernment. You're going to have to trust. Trust is going to be very important. And if you're not part of natural women organizations, you're going to have to reach out. It's going to be a matter of you stepping out to find those relationships. You're going to have to step out and find those relationships.
Is it worthwhile, Marty?
I truly believe that it's worthwhile because we were not made on this earth to necessarily be by ourselves. And I believe that we need other people. We were made to need other people. And I think that I would encourage a person over 50 to understand that they're going to have to make themselves vulnerable because they're going to probably go through a weeding process. They're going to meet some people who are good and some people who might not be good. Don't allow those bad apples to spoil the whole bunch, because in the end, when you do achieve that friendship and your path crosses with that individual who is worthy of your friendship. Now, again, you know, don't put yourself on the clearance rack, you know, but definitely seek out a like-minded person such as yourself, and someone who can stand in their own truth and is somebody that you really like to be around and someone you feel like you can develop and build a trust with, you know, and you will, at this particular point, you're going to know probably after the first or second meeting whether or not it's going to work. You know, you're pretty much going to know whether or not this is the type of person that you can see yourself forging a friendship with. But I do say, take the chance, make yourself vulnerable, because I believe that the reward of having a friend is greater than never having experienced it.
Sam, is it worth it? I mean, do you find value in your sister friendships?
Definitely. I mean, again, you talked about how, you know, your sister friends was there through your marriages. I mean, we come through when nobody else will. But you also have to know who you are and what type of friend that you're really looking for. Mm-hmm. And not accept anything. Just like Marty said, don't put yourself on, I love that saying anyway, don't put yourself on the clearance rack. I think that a lot it's needy people out here, and if you don't want to be around a person that needs, and then don't be around that person. I wouldn't develop. But vulnerability is important. I think sometimes you have to be hurt to find out what you want and what you don't want.
Yeah. I know this girlfriend thing, you know, it sounds like a new thing, and people are writing a lot of books about it. So if somebody on here wants to write a book in the LOL family about girlfriends and its value, it's not new. what comes to mind, I'm going to end it with this story that actually comes from the Bible. There was this girl named, well, she don't have a name, which is common in the Bible, right, Regina? So Jephthah's daughter in Judges, God told Jephthah, go fight this war and you're going to win. So Jephthah knew he was going to win, but he was scared to fight, but he was going to fight nonetheless. And then Jephthah, God didn't ask, Jephthah said, Lord, if you let me win the fight, the first thing I see when I get back home, I will sacrifice to you. Did God ask Jephthah that? No, but it's a man gonna do, he gonna do. So the man walks into his house and the first thing he sees is his daughter. He looks at his daughter and says, what thing have you done to me? I told the Lord that the first thing I saw, I would sacrifice unto him. The daughter, in obedience to her father, says, Father, give me time to bemoan my virginity. You see how that's a big deal. That's how you know men, wrote the Bible. But give me time to bemoan my virginity, and I will return for the sacrifice. Well, you would think she would just run off to mourn. What happened was Jephthah's daughter, I'm going to call her Jennifer because she deserves a name. For the sake of my story today right here, Jennifer gathers all her girls, and her girls go out and celebrate her life. The life that she had, the life that she has, and the life that she won't have. And when they finish celebrating, crying, being sister girls, hanging out, talking, having a drink, whatever they did back in that time, she returned home. We don't know what ultimately happened if there was a sacrifice made. For those of you who are listening and don't know the story and are not Christians, God did not ever require the human sacrifice. That was a no-go for the God of Israel. So I don't know if Jephthah sacrificed his daughter because it was not okay. But there is a celebration in the land of Israel today where they celebrate the fact that that should have never happened and the community should have stood up for the girl. The point of that story that I'm trying to get across is in this young lady's worst time, she gathered her girls to celebrate. So the story of friendship for women, it ain't new. And it must be, if it's in the Bible, there's a reason for the story. God wants us to learn something as women about friendship. So those of you who are listening, if you don't have a friend girl, let me know when you get one. Take your time, develop a friendship, make yourself vulnerable, give yourself away, and watch God bless it. Let us know what happens with it. So on behalf of the crew, again, subscribe. Come back and listen to us again. Sammy, thank you.
You're welcome.
Lori, thank you. Marty, thank you. Regina, thank you.
Wow.
And the words of Dolly Parton, find out who you are and do it on purpose.